And coming up on 11 News at 6, that major earthquake brings death and devastation to Northern California. We'll have live reports from the Bay Area. Houstonians who lived through the tragedy share some of their horror stories with us.
Texas doesn't have earthquakes, but it does have fault lines. We'll have a look at their potential. It's up, and away for the Space Shuttle Atlantis. The fate of the World Series hangs in the balance, and fall weather makes a comeback. All that and much more up next.
Once again, Houston, we ask you to help, and you've opened your hearts and your pocketbooks. During the last few days, you have donated tons of non-perishable food to the needy and hungry people of our community. The challenge was Let's Can Hunger, and you gave it. You gave it everything you had. Right now, thousands of pounds of food is on its way to the Houston Food Bank and to hungry people because of your overwhelming generosity. From Channel 11 and from Texas Commerce Banks, our heartfelt thanks for helping us can hunger.
Nobody beats Oshman's. Save 50% on Adidas Superstar leather court shoes, only $27.49. Right now at Oshman's 70th anniversary sale. KHOU TV, Houston. And now, from 11 News in Houston, Sylvan Rodriguez, Susan Banks, Dr. Neil Frank with weather, and Gib Nielsen on sports. This is KHOU 11 News at 6.
Almost 24 hours after a massive earthquake hit San Francisco, the horrible reality is sinking in. A family sleeps in the park because their home has collapsed. A block of buildings destroyed by fire smolders in the marina area. And searchers frantically look for survivors in the crumpled remains of the I-880 freeway, where dozens of cars lie crushed and entombed. Good evening. As you can see, the pictures of the death and destruction from this earthquake are truly dreadful.
To help put this disaster into perspective, here's a summary of the killer quake of 1989. The earthquake hit at just after 5 Pacific time last evening. It measured 6.9 on the Richter scale. The epicenter of the quake was about 75 miles south of San Francisco. The death toll has now risen to at least 272 people. That makes it the second deadliest earthquake in U.S. history. The double-tiered Interstate 880 in Oakland took an estimated 253 lives when it collapsed on itself. 9 died in San Francisco, 3 in San Jose, at least 5 people in Santa Cruz. The number of people injured is estimated at 650. Right now, more than 1 million residents are without power. 500,000 have no natural gas. The damage estimates are hovering in the $1 billion range. It has been almost 24 hours, and it is still not known just how much damage this quake really did.
Sylvan, we have 2 crews, of course, in the Bay Area to cover the story. Susan Starnes is in the South Bay area in the town of Los Gatos, just southeast of San Jose. We join her live now to tell us what she has seen. Susan?
Well, Susan, just now, a few of the business owners here in the Central Business District have been allowed back in with police supervision to just retrieve a few things into boxes and take them someplace where they won't be in danger of the walls tumbling down. Most of the buildings that you see behind me, trendy restaurants, bookstores, that kind of nice little shop in the touristy sort of upscale area here in Los Gatos, are in danger structurally. It's not difficult to see glass, bricks everywhere. Of course, a lot of the people here have dreams invested in these small businesses, but many of the other residents of Los Gatos work in Silicon Valley, just north of here.
Officials toured this historic community by air. Damage at the street level in the 100-year-old downtown kept business owners out and inspectors busy.
What have you seen so far? A big mess.
Residents are slowly getting power restored. They're still worried about the water quality in Los Gatos. Jim Jobs is boiling water at his bachelor pad until officials advise otherwise. The quake redecorated his tiny downtown apartment.
And it just rocked. And I was on the phone with somebody and she said, here's an earthquake, you know. And I just went, whoa. And I jumped under the desk. That was it. It stopped. The ground, the floor in the building's like wavy now. Stairwell cracked.
To give you some idea of how close we were to the epicenter, Los Gatos is just about 10 miles over a mountain ridge from the actual epicenter of this severe quake. So it's going to be a number of days before all the power gets back on, all the gas leaks are checked out, and the danger of fire here is gone. Sylvan, Susan, back to you in Houston.
Thank you, Susan. Farther north, in a quake this size, many fear that San Francisco would be the hardest hit with all its big skyscrapers.
Our Jerome Gray is in the city by the bay. He joins us now with a live report. Jerome?
Sylvan, there's still a lot of fear about the aftershocks, and there are problems getting the necessary equipment into the heavily damaged Marina District. The reason, sightseers. People tying up the area, trying to get a glimpse of the damage. Of course, assessing the damage is going to take days.
The San Francisco Marina District, the place where you'll find million-dollar-plus homes. Today is the place where you'll find hundreds of $1 million worth of damage. Now, close to 24 hours after the earth rocked the Bay Area, the search continues for victims under the rubble.
There was a rescue made here. This was a 3-story building. They searched and had to block insurers. They went and pulled a woman out of here.
The frantic search continues on the collapsed freeway that sandwiched cars in between concrete. And everywhere you turn in the city, there are heroic efforts to save lives. Heroic efforts that began the moment the ground first started to shake.
I saw the building go down right here in the corner, and I ran down there and yelled through a broken window, and a girl answered to me, so I told her to step back. I broke the window. She climbed out. She had nothing wrong with her except for she got thrown around pretty good.
People were urged to stay away from the city unless they had to be here, and they're cooperating. Parts of the usually busy financial district look more like a ghost town. Just about all of the tall buildings are closed because of the uncertainty about gas leaks or aftershocks that could once again rock this city.
And in spite of the loss, the deaths, the injuries, San Franciscans seem determined to rebuild their lives, rebuild those devastated areas and what is still a beautiful city by the bay. As you can see, a beautiful shot of this beautiful city by the bay. And I must tell you, Sylvan and Susan, I talked to a former Houstonian, who said that he experienced that earthquake last night. He's been living in this area for about 2 years, and he says he'd rather take the hurricanes any day over the earthquake. At least you have the opportunity to prepare.
All right, Jerome, thank you for that report.
Most of the earthquake's fatalities were on that 18-block stretch of Highway 880 in Oakland, where the top deck fell on the bottom traffic lanes. Overnight, there were stories of miracles. One victim extricated from a car that had been smashed with thickness of only 18 inches. At daybreak, firefighters on ladder trucks checked the entire length of what used to be a double-decker highway, found no more signs of life.
Our people have been very, very careful, have made an exhaustive investigation to try to be sure that there are no people alive. Obviously, we can't say that absolutely there are no people, but every effort has been made to assure that there are no people still alive up there.
The plan now is to use a special concrete saw to cut holes in the pavement of the upper deck. Mangled cars will be removed through those holes, and rescue workers are hoping to find more survivors.
The first nonstop airline flight coming out of San Francisco into Houston arrived at Intercontinental Airport less than an hour ago.
Dave Failing went out to greet those passengers and get their reactions to the earthquake. Let's go to him live at the airport now, Dave.
Susan, that was Continental Flight 502. It was a flight that was full of Houstonians. Each who had a different story to tell about the terrifying experience that they just went through last night. Some of the words they used were terrified, frightening, lucky to be alive. Here are some of their stories. First, from a Houston woman who was in the San Francisco airport terminal last night when the earthquake hit.
And it was really scary. The floor split apart behind me in the terminal, and ceiling tiles fell down and lights, and it shook. It seemed like forever.
The baby flew across the room. It knocked the baby down. And we grabbed the baby.
Yeah, and it happened so fast, but you felt the whole room just like you were on a wave. The whole building undulated. And this is the first one we've been through, so we didn't know if this was normal or not. And it wasn't until about a half hour later when we walked outside and people said that the bridge had collapsed, and this is one of the biggest earthquakes that had ever hit.
And I was in the lobby, and they just kind of, I guess as you'd expect, just the building shaking back and forth both ways. And looking up above to make sure no lights or anything like that be falling on you. But it was kind of scary, but not really. You didn't really know what to expect. I've been in one before. So mainly just sit by and let things settle back down.
A lot of these people told me a lot like what Jerome Gray was talking about, where they said Houston may have its hot weather and whatever, may have its hurricanes, but they'd just as soon take that over the earthquakes. One Houston passenger summed it up by saying that it's great to be back in Texas. Reporting live, Dave Failing. Back to you.
Can understand that.
Well, Red Cross officials all over Texas are scrambling to get any kind of help sent into the Bay Area. President Bush has already signed a disaster relief declaration providing federal funds to help rebuild. If you're interested in donating money to help quake victims, call the Red Cross hotline number at 1-800-453-9000.
Well, here in Houston, fortunately, we're not known for earthquakes, but there are active fault lines in the Houston area, and people are building and living on top of them. Tonight, Charles Hadlock reports on Houston's shaky ground.
On the surface, this neighborhood near Spring Branch seems normal and quiet. But deep beneath the manicured lawns, there are powerful forces at work. A fault line slices through the center of the neighborhood. The Long Point Fault is Houston's longest and most damaging. Anything built on its path will crack. There are literally hundreds of fault lines in the Houston area. We don't hear much about them because they don't move very fast, maybe only an inch a year. But if your house is built on a fault line, it will slowly but surely pull it apart. The people who lived here tried leveling the foundation several times, but lost the tug-of-war with the Long Point Fault.
That's only a temporary solution because the fault moves and then the foundation shifts and then they have to redo it. And now this one, no one, will buy this home.
The house is 2 feet higher in the front than in the back. It is a house divided. One side of the house is pulling away from the other. And like many other buildings along the fault, this house stands abandoned.
We're trying to get this home torn down, and there is 2 others that we're trying to get, the city to do something about.
In places, the fault line appears as a rise in the road or a bump in the street.
Oh, they're all over Houston. Yeah, they really are.
The Long Point Fault runs next to Bob Drago's house. Over the last 29 years, he has watched his neighbor's home sink 3 feet. The fault line's movement has never been sudden.
I don't think we need to go out and buy earthquake insurance yet like they do in California.
If you actually build on a fault, it's a rather serious nuisance value, but nobody's ever died from one.
Geologists have been tracing faults and warning builders not to build on them. They don't always listen.
In Texas and in Houston in particular, we do far too little in providing geological information to homeowners and to builders, and we give too little guidance about what we can and cannot do.
Geologists say people who live near the Long Point Fault will never have to worry about earthquakes. The damage here comes slow and quiet. Charles Hadlock, 11 News.
Here's a touching story. At 5 o'clock, we told you about one of the anxious Houstonians awaiting word of loved ones in the Bay Area. Wanda Sadlin is an HISD teacher. Her daughter Penny works in San Francisco, lives in Oakland, and travels the Bay Bridge and Highway 880 daily for her commute. Her mother was frantic. She had been trying for hours to get through on the jammed phone lines to no avail. Late this afternoon, Wanda called again, got a ring at her daughter's Oakland home, and here's what she heard.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. We're
okay. Don't worry about us.
We're at work.
We're at work, and
we'll call you.
Well, one happy ending on a day filled with a lot of sad endings.
And we'll be right back with more news. Stay with us.
When you have your film processed at Eckerd, it gets the Kodak Color Watch seal. That means that only Kodak systems and Kodak paper are used. What else? But that's not enough for Eckerd. No, because in an Eckerd lab, your film also goes through a careful inspection process. Then your prints are inspected too, and if there's a problem, it's labeled, so you can fix it next time. Only one place does all this, friends. Eckerd.
Eckerd photo processing. Nothing looks better.
Oh, that felt good.
At Apple Tree, we're big on value and big on selection.
During our big half-price sale, save on fryer leg quarters. 10-pound bag average just 23 cents a pound. And Apple Tree's got a big value on parquet margarine. 16-ounce quarters, only 44 cents each. And save big on Borden's Crunchers chips. 7-ounce bags, just 84 cents each.
Only at Apple Tree, where everything is Apple Tree fresh.
The question is, how do you get the sofa you want in the style and fabric you want and get it in 35 days? The answer, Furniture Idea. And save now during our special order sale. First, make your choice from over 400 styles and choose from over 1,000 fabrics. Then put the fabric of your choice on the style of your choice and get it as a sofa and love seat, or a sleeper and chair, or even a sectional and get delivery in just 35 days. Save now during Furniture Ideas special order sale.
The tradition lives on. Fairfield, another product of Friendswood Development Company.
Neither weather, an earthquake, nor anti-nuclear activities delayed the launch of the Space Shuttle Atlantis today.
And it is now in orbit around the Earth. It's getting ready for the big event of this mission. Nancy Holland joins us live from Johnson Space Center to tell us more. Nancy.
Susan and Sylvan, within about a minute, the Atlantis is supposed to deploy the spacecraft Galileo. It will reach Jupiter in 1995. That is really the main focus of this mission and one of the reasons that scientists were so anxious to get it off the ground. John Getter has more on the launch from the Cape.
The astronauts were up early and ready to go. After a quick breakfast, they struggled into their pressure suits to drive through the rain out to the launch pad. The weather was not at all promising and rapidly getting worse.
It was pretty obvious that today was going to be the last opportunity for at least 2 days, maybe 3.
But this time, luck was with them. The bad weather broke just long enough.
2, 1. We have ignition and liftoff of Atlantis and the Galileo spacecraft bound for Jupiter.
So 5 Houstonians are in space for 5 days of a very full and scientifically critical work schedule. At the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, John Getter, 11 News.
And we have just gotten word that Galileo has just this moment been deployed. Galileo is now ready for its mission in space. The shuttle bay doors opened and Galileo was given the okay to go ahead. Incidentally, that okay came from Sunnyvale, California, where earlier today there was worry that the earthquake had damaged the NASA facility, but Sunnyvale was okay and Galileo is okay. It will reach Jupiter in 6 years, giving us information on a couple of asteroids along the way. And scientists hope it will give us a great deal of information about Jupiter and about the entire solar system. So, Sylvan and Susan, we will have more on the deployment of Galileo tonight at 10 o'clock.
All right, Nancy, thanks for the good news.
Houston's Intercontinental Airport apparently will not be renamed to honor the late Mickey Leland. Instead, a new international terminal will likely be named after the congressman. Council supporters of Leland Airport backed away from the plan late this afternoon, and a compromise is expected to fly through council next week.
It would show that a minority member of the Houston community could rise to the same levels as any Houstonian, as Bill Hobby or George R. Brown or any other deserving Houstonians who've had buildings named after them.
Mickey Leland's widow, Allison, pushing for the renaming of the airport till late in the afternoon. Once again, after weeks of heated debate, Intercontinental Airport will not be renamed for Mickey Leland.
Our 2-day Channel 11 Let's Can Hunger food drive has now come to a close, and it's time to thank the dozens of volunteers who helped us gather bags of groceries at our studios on Allen Parkway. 32,000 pounds in all collected from here and from the 34 Texas Commerce Bank branches in the area. The groceries go directly to the Houston Food Bank, which supplies 350 programs in 18 counties. So thank all of you.
Absolutely.
First news of California's big quake came at the start of last night's World Series game. And coming up, we'll find out just what happens now with the Battle of the Bay for the baseball championship.
And we'll be hearing from some members of the Oilers who have family in the Bay Area. GIF has sports next.
Remember those times, won't ever regret it, 'cause you're wrapped up in love.
Coslo's anniversary fur sale. Save $500 to $10,000 on every breathtaking fur from Coslo's magnificent collection. Every luxurious fur reduced $500 to $10,000, including Coslo's exclusive black diamond and black jade mink coats, and many designer names. Save $500 to $10,000 now through Saturday only.
If you're moving your stuff from here to there, and there isn't ready for your stuff,
Maybe 5 or 6 weeks. We'll call you.
come to Public Storage. The hotel for stuff. Public Storage. You store it, you lock it, you keep the key. Call 1-800-44-STORE, toll-free for the location near you. Rent now and $1 pays your first month's rent. Offer expires November 5th. Public Storage. We're all over town.
Hello, Mrs. Morrissey? This is Sandy's mother. Is my daughter there? Hello, Mrs. Carpenter. Have you seen Sandy? Hello, Mrs. Weller. I'm looking for Sandy.
If someone you love is running away from their problems, call Laurelwood Hospital in the Woodlands at 800-999-4435.
San Francisco was receiving all the attention last night because of the ball game.
Yeah, they really were, and it's kind of interesting when you look at it. It's supposed to be a fun time of the year, but with what's happening out there, it's just not that much fun with baseball. It's hard to believe, but less than 24 hours ago, the biggest story in the San Francisco area was the World Series. Now it's the least important. The annual Fall Classic is on hold, giving officials time to assess the damage at the two ballparks and decide on the next step.
The decision not to play tonight. That's the only decision we made. We are obviously in the process of getting more data, more information about the state of disarray in the community. Obviously, there's been a substantial tragedy in this community, and baseball is not the highest priority.
Faye Vincent says preliminary indications show both Candlestick Park and Oakland Alameda Coliseum are in good shape, but proper building inspections still need to be made. He plans to hold another news conference within the hour. While the Oilers were out on the football field, much of the talk around the sidelines was about the quake. Several coaches and players are from the Bay Area and have families still living there.
Family lives out there. I have an aunt that lives about 10 miles away from where it hit in San Jose, California. My grandfather lives in San Jose. Everyone's fine. There was no injuries at all, but there was definitely some damage done to the homes and you know, some of the property out there.
It's kind of scary, you know, it really is, but nothing, you know, if you have problems, your problems are nothing compared to the problems that the people are experiencing out there. So it made my outlook a little different, that's for sure.
To my knowledge right now, nobody's been hurt, but I have relatives over in San Francisco, and so I haven't heard anything from them yet, so I really don't know about them yet, because the communications were down, so we don't know yet.
But as for the business at hand, the Oilers began preparations for the Steelers game on Sunday in the Dome. There are still 9,000 tickets left. Both teams have identical 3-3 records, and the Oilers are 10-point favorites. Well, it looks like the Houston Rockets will be playing the season without the services of Walter Berry. Berry's agent told Rockets general manager Steve Patterson today he's ready to sign a contract to play in Italy. Berry, who came to the club last season after he was waived by the New Jersey Nets, has been holding out from training camp, wanting a guaranteed contract from the club. He played in 40 games last season, averaging nearly 9 points and 4 rebounds a game. Patterson says he doesn't believe the Rockets will miss him this year. The NCAA confirmed today the axe may fall on the University of Maryland basketball program. School officials have received an official letter of inquiry listing 19 violations. The Maryland program has been under fire for the past 3 years following the cocaine-related death of Len Bias. Now the school must answer to allegations of ticket scalping, unethical conduct by former basketball coach Bob Wade, and offering improper inducements to recruits, including Alonzo Mourning, who chose to play at Georgetown instead. So a lot of things taking place in that Maryland program that are unhappy and unfortunate. We'll have more at 10.
Thanks, Gib. Well, fall has barreled into southwest Texas. This is sweater weather. Neil Frank has on about 14 of them. He says we're going to need them for a few days. His forecast is next.
And we'll find out what the Red Cross is doing to help other victims of Hurricane Jerry. Stay with us.
For Gift Nielsen sports updates at any time, call 323-GIFF.
Remember when every song on the radio was your favorite? 94.5 FM KLDE. The music you grew up with is back. The music that made you feel good then. The Beatles! Is making you feel good all over again. KLDE, the only FM station that plays all good time oldies. 94.5 FM, KLDE.
A paradise setting or a hideout from the mob. A world premiere movie presentation. Trenchcoat in Paradise, tonight at 8.
Expect more from Houston's leading information source, The Chronicle. More sports coverage, more arts and entertainment, the city's largest news staff and only metropolitan section, more local business, and the state's top-selling classified. The biggest newspaper in Texas has to be the best. Call now for delivery tomorrow morning, 220-7211.
Do your in-laws drive you crazy? When Tammy throws you out of the house, who picks up the phone and who do you go to?
That's
Answer to me. No.
You.
All right. I love you.
Okay, all right.
If you don't love me, well, that's
quit
your
lying.
problem.
Then maybe we'll get along. We
Who's lying?
resolved this
What are we
3
lying
times.
about?
That's in the past.
Well,
we're back now,
it's
and
all right.
yeah.
So you're bringing it up.
I think you know it's part of the problem.
In-laws, fight it out on the next Oprah Winfrey Show.
Turn to Oprah, Thursday at 4 on Channel 11.
Susan, you suggested we go to fall. I think we're going to skip fall. We're going to go right into winter. Do you know that we've got a freeze warning out tonight for much of the state? We're looking for temperatures in the 20s out in the Permian Basin around Midland. You know, the earliest date of a freeze in Midland is October the 29th. I think that's going to change tonight. They're looking for temperatures in the 20s. Now, we're not going to get temperatures in the 20s tonight here locally, but we could certainly get down around 40, and if the skies clear quick enough, might even get a 38 or 39. Our record in the morning is 41, so we're flirting with record temperatures here. Now, what's causing all this? Well, that front that moved by us on Tuesday. That is a very strong front. Why is this so strong? Because we got this huge mountain of air up here. A lot of folks have said today, why is it blowing so strong? Well, because we got this huge mountain of air. Air flows off of the mountain into the valley. And it flows into this valley, and the valley in this case is a low pressure system. And so when you have a huge mountain, you're going to get strong winds, and that's exactly what we have. Now watch the clouds clear out to the east as this front continues on down Florida. And also watch this little patch of clouds here over the panhandle, because there was some showers with that, passed mainly over the northern part of the viewing area this morning. A little lows forming on that front. Head of the front, temperatures quite warm yet in the 80s, but behind the front with those strong northerly winds, we've got very cool temperatures. As a matter of fact, we had 9 degrees at Bismarck this morning, 25 even down at Dodge City, and you can see that it's still quite chilly today. Flint, Michigan come in with their first snow of the season. So 30s and 40s from the Great Lakes all the way into the central part of the country. Out west, fortunately, they're not having a weather problem there now. Temperatures are quite warm. Hovering around the 80-degree mark in the San Francisco area. Here locally, it is cool. Temperatures in the 50s to the north, 60s, 70s to the south. And tonight, we're looking for temperatures to go down pretty close to that 40-degree mark. Now here locally, we had a 60 degrees. That's 23 degrees below normal for this time of the year. 65 on the island is 12 degrees below normal. Winds out of the north, 20 to 30, and as long as they stay that way, small craft advisory in effect, and well offshore, seas are running 7 to 10 feet, so not a good day to be out fishing. Now, what's it going to be like tomorrow? Just like it is today. That huge mountain is going to move down into the central part of the country, air spilling off out of that, causing northerly winds 20 to 30 into a developing low. It's going to get nasty over on that east coast. Let's take a look at that very cold forecast for this time of the year. You're going out tonight. I think you're going to need maybe 2 jackets before you come back. Overnight low is going to be around 40, maybe a 38 or 39. Then tomorrow afternoon in the low to mid 60s. And maybe a little bit of a warming trend as we move to the end of the week after maybe a 38 on Friday morning. So it is cold.
Neil, we tease you, but both Susan and I were out front while we were over the food drive, and It was chilly right to the bone today.
We were cold. We needed our middies out there in
It would have been
earmuffs.
nice. We should have listened to it.
Yeah, I know.
Well, that other natural disaster, the one that hit Texas, Hurricane Jerry, has affected as many as 500 families, and because of that, the Red Cross has now opened 6 disaster assistance centers. The assistance centers include, the assistance they provide, include food and household furnishings and other essentials. For additional information, victims of Hurricane Jerry can call the Red Cross headquarters at 526-8300.
Now, we hope you stay with us here at Channel 11 because tonight at 10, we'll have more live coverage from the San Francisco Bay Area as rescue and cleanup operations continue nearly 24 hours after that massive earthquake struck. And we'll have the happy ending to one Houston woman's earthquake nightmare. Her daughter drives the Bay Bridge in that deadly stretch of freeway daily. At last, she has received word of her family's safety. We'll have more on her story at 10.
That's our news. Thanks for being with us.